they didn't. Yeah, so they didn't do that, right? And so that's right.
That is what it is.
Yeah, so the you know, at the end of the day, had they done a bigger project, this would probably be a bigger issue. But because it was a small project and it was based off of as-built survey at the time, the site plan, there shouldn't be any issues.
Okay.
I still have to go back and check that site plan against the resolution, and I'll have to go back and check it against the as-built, which I have. I can't really do that until I have a site plan that's been signed up.
We have a mechanism now moving forward.
Yeah, mine is not coming. Yeah, this is not coming. I think that's. Out of 9, yeah, 7 out of 9.
It's like 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Can I ask a small favor? Can I ask that when you where I'm sitting, we should go over, and then Carla, can you go over where Diana would sit? That way nobody's sitting in front of the TV.
Thank you. I was kind of wondering how I was gonna like see who's actually. You can leave your phone.
Oh, yeah, I guess I have a meeting.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's just making it extra complicated. for no reason.
All my stuff.
I wanted to tell you the maximum amount of problems.
Yeah, well, you're doing a good job of that.
I appreciate you noticing.
And you made sure that I was sitting right there when very loud.
That's, you know, I planned it that way. Really.
I mean, is there a second?
It is double-sided. So no, unless there's, yeah, there are only 5 items. It's
Right.
still gonna take us 3 hours.
Got it. No, I see. It will not. 5:30. I've had one piece of pizza to bed all day. So
Yeah, say so.
yeah, so on that note, let's get
Let's
started.
grab that,
Oh, yeah, we get an extra mic shot.
or actually, what
So if everybody can just take a look at
Take
the
care of that.
mic and make sure it's turned on. Push it until it's green light. Hello?
You started the recording, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, while I was sitting there.
It's a little weird. There's literally nobody over there in person right now.
Are they coming in or doing?
Everybody's doing everything remote. So
All right. All right. So why don't we start off with, I mean, we last time we had how many you took in attendance to get started, so I'll do that.
all right. So let me just pull out my procedural notes. Start time is 7:03. So Seth Lloyd,
I'm here.
and Michael Aronson,
Here.
Ryan Aaron is absent. Robert Bapper.
Present.
Ulysses Castillo is absent. Isabel Nguyen.
Here.
Eric Talbot. Brenda Burbeck.
Here.
And Carla Alita.
Here.
All right, so we do have 2 board members absent, so both of the alternates will be eligible to vote. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is going to be the approval of the minutes from, I guess, from September. So if everyone's read the resolution, looks like everybody has. We have a motion to approve those minutes.
Are we about to make a motion to approve September's minutes?
Second.
I second that motion.
Isabel. And all right, so are there any objections? No objections, the motion passes. Okay, so the minutes are approved. So now we're going to move on to our first item. And I know, do we have anybody, can we be heard? Like, that's my first question, maybe before we get too deep into this. Do we have like Jamie or is there? do we
Jamie's
have
here, yeah.
Spotter, just to make sure that we're being audible. and
Clearly.
legible?
Yeah, Jamie is here. Jamie, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Very good. Just making sure. I don't want to get like halfway through the agenda. and Totally, nobody can hear it. Okay, so we're going to start off. The first item on the agenda is a new item, 28 Croton Avenue, Planning Board 12-2022 and VAR 12-2022. Jaime, if you can just give us a summary, and then we'll bring the applicants in to give us their presentation.
Yeah, sure. So the application is for 28 Croton Avenue. It's currently a parking lot that sort of services kind of the needs of people in the neighborhood, or the owner basically rents out the spaces as needed. But it doesn't have any purpose. It's not sort of connected to any project officially in that area. They are proposing a 5-unit residential family building with 3 stories of residential over a parking garage. So it's essentially a 4-story building. The plans describe it kind of like a 3-story building with a lower level, but I think it more correctly meets the definition of a 4-story building, which is a permitted height for that district. The applicant has 5 parking spaces inside of the building that are essentially garages. And then there are another additional 10 spaces on the property. So it's a pretty good project. It's a form-based project, so had to do a bit of a additional analysis to build that. There are some open questions about sort of the civic space they're required to provide, some issues on the amount of glazing that they're required to provide. Those have been made to the applicant, and so the applicant's here to talk a little bit about the.
Let's bring them in.
We have Peter Turner, who is the owner of the project, as well as JB Hernandez, who is the architect.
What's that?
Sitting there would not.
Yeah, no, we all just would have been staring at you. the whole time. Okay. All right, JP and Peter, are you guys here? I think Peter's muted, so is JP got screen sharing?
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know you'd pull me up so fast.
Will I be able to share screen or?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, turn it down.
Oh,
All right, we can see your screen.
are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, this is, Jaime said, this is in the village center zone. This is an existing parking lot right now. It's been there for a while. So what we are proposing is to use the new overlay district in the downtown, and we are proposing to have 5 units with parking underneath. And let me start with that. This is on the intersection of Elizabeth Street, near Town Hall. It is right now, there's an existing wall that we are trying to, we will maintain and we will keep. Are you seeing the images or having a little problem with connection?
Yeah, it's a little glitchy. The
Zoom back out.
like the raster images are coming in.
All right, this is the existing wall, and we are going to maintain that. So we're going to maintain the streetscape. So when we go to the overlay district, what we are using here is the, let's see if we can do this so we can walk here through it. This is the street frontage type will be neighborhood commercial street frontage. And the frontage definition will be hillside, FR6. We are, then we do comply with the rest of the zoning, in the exception that we're still working. We had a meeting with Jaime, we're still working on the amount of glazing and the civic space. So we're going to try to incorporate that into our drawings so we don't have to ask a variance or ask the planning board for a decision on that. So again, this is the lower level. This is applying the build to zone. This is the existing retaining wall. So you'd be driving in the similar from Elizabeth Street. One thing I wanted to point out that we are getting a requesting a variance for being too close to the intersection. However, the existing intersection is much closer now, so we are improving the existing driveway entering. The one thing we're doing is we have steps going up to like a front balcony entry. These are duplexes or triplex design, and we are providing each unit with their own private garage, and then we provide outdoor parking. We do have more than the parking required. We total is 15 parking spaces that we have total. As we move on, we show some of the landscaping. We're doing landscaping along Corona Avenue on top of the wall.
Hold up a second,
Hold on one
Rick, you
minute.
lost your screen. Not on your end, on our end. Sorry.
Am I back?
Yes, now we're back.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So again, this is the lower level layout. Again, showing we do have an accessible space. We do have an access to the stairs going up to the main floor and going down to Corona Avenue. This is a layout of the units. Again, we have a front balcony along Corona Avenue, and we have a first level with a patio in the back. All the units, all the living space, in dining and kitchen is all at the lower level. And then as you go up, we have the bedrooms. We have a bedroom in the back, bedroom in the front, and then in the top level, we have like a roof patio and an additional bedroom. I think these, we did the livable and habitable area tabulation. And I think this where the color kind of shows better layout of how the apartments work. So you main stair to the front balcony, then you come in into the apartment. You have a powder room, a closet, a large kitchen, and the stairs going up to the second level. On the second level, you have 2 bedrooms with each 2-bedroom suites, and we have a closet. And then as you go up to the top level, we have another bedroom suite, and we have a rooftop patio that looks into Riverview. This is the front elevation. We are this version of the front elevation will change the next time we are in front of the board, because we had to do a study in the amount of glazing, because the form-based code requires a certain amount that we are deficient in right now. And then we're going to have a combination of hardy plank and different combination of colors, and we picking up some of the trim work and aesthetic from
And
across.
that brick isn't going to be there. It's going to be hardy plank.
Yes. Mhm. And this is the re-elevation. And this will be the side elevation. Again, this part of the side and the front elevation will change in the next design. I think gonna capture, hopefully we capture most of the information right now. I don't know, Peter, if I missed anything that is some importance right now, but
No, I don't think so.
okay.
I'm sorry, Jimmy. I didn't quite catch what you were saying about the plans and how you're going to change the ground level facing the street. Could you repeat that, please?
I'm sorry, couldn't hear the,
You were talking about something on the ground floor elevation was going to change, but I didn't catch what you said was going to change.
oh, okay. Part of the form-based code, it has a requirement for amount of glazing along the first level. And this, because it's the back of the garage, is deficient in the amount of glazing. I'm not sure, think
30%.
30%, right? Yeah, so,
When you say glazing, we're talking about windows, correct?
yes,
But those are windows into the parking.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
JB, maybe can I ask another question?
Yes.
JB, so my question is, on the first level, what kind of material is that you have for the site right now? Be brick? Did you say it was gonna be hardy plank, or are you still working through that?
Yes, the idea is we may change everything to hardy plank, and especially now the amount of windows is going to change as well.
All right, everybody, I do want to remind you, these are so that the people in the back can hear you. But the recording is coming through the little microphone up there. So you're going to want to not just speak into the mic, but also speak loud. Apologies.
So those, the mic makes it louder.
So I guess, you know, that the question of the glazing is an important one, especially given the fact that the basement, or that, is that considered a basement where the parking is? Is that the ground floor?
It's not a basement, it's we call it a ground floor, because it's not only a little bit in the back is on the ground. So
And then does the parking, this is maybe a staff question, speak to the use of parking in the first floor?
So it doesn't really. So the form-based code really kind of deals with the form largely here. And so the parking is not permitted. So it doesn't say you can't do it. And so it's a little different, but the way that the code is kind of set up, it looks at sort of like how does it look on the outside. So the fact that it's functioning as a garage is one issue. You know, one of the things that I did discuss with JB about this was the potential to use that space maybe even differently than just a garage. They have currently, you know, 5 parking spaces. So there is some ability to convert that potentially, you know, office space for the owners or the renters of the units. I think that it could be convertible, not just strictly garage, and it doesn't need to be parking to meet the requirements for the parking.
Right. I think the other thing that I thought about I thought about a lot as I was looking at this site, just because I walk by it almost every day on the sidewalk. So, you know, that relationship of that stone wall to the sidewalk, you know, you're kind of keeping all of that the same. I almost wonder if we're talking about what the parking area is on the first floor. We're talking about glazing. We're talking about this, you know, there's that long staircase up from that upper plinth in there. It almost feels like if there was more of an entryway to the building at that lower level that could be glazed, with that staircase that's outside is somehow part of I don't know if this works. I'm just kind of thinking out loud a little bit. That there's, you know, some sort of an entrance to the, you know, common entrance to the building that could give you your glazing, that could also maybe just kind of relate the building a little bit more to the street. You know, that staircase is really narrow, and, you know, I don't know how often people would really come up and out of it. So, and I guess, and related to all of that is looking at how you could, you know, if there's not immediate that grade.
Which staircase is there?
I'm talking about.
I think that's one, right?
I'm talking about the new staircase that you're proposing, which seems like this really long, kind of awkward entrance up into the front of the building. I mean, that's the front, right? That's the front.
That's the
facing
only
the
entrance
side.
into the actual park.
Right. And then, but I'm also talking about the existing narrow stone stair that takes you from that grassy area in your drawings. Yeah, that staircase as well, which is existing. And, you know, it seems like to do all of this work, leave that there and not maybe, you know, maybe even like, you know, create grade at some point, you know, maybe not the entire wall, but maybe between that, where that staircase is and Elizabeth. And just kind of relate this to the sidewalk in a way. I mean, the whole purpose of the form-based code, I feel like, is to relate it to the sidewalk and the pedestrians. This is all like up on a hill, you'll never know. We're talking about glazing on the ground floor. but it seems so out of the way because when you're walking on that sidewalk, you don't really know that that's there. I think there's an opportunity here because that's kind of an uncomfortable sidewalk in tourist area anyway, to really open that up and bring people in.
You're suggesting enlarging the stairs or making the stairs part of like the main entry to this level?
I think enlarging it, whether that means like, making that stair wider, so there's more kind of visual access to that front part of the building, whether that's, that of itself, right? All of these projects on Croton Avenue deal with these multiple hills, right? You're going, north, south, and east, west with these awkward slopes. So it's challenging, and I don't have that answer, but I think.
I mean, I don't really know what's on the other side of that retaining wall, if we're looking at solid rock or what it is. I'm assuming that probably is the case.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like that's been leveled up at the top of the wall, but sure.
I think in capturing your comments, Seth, I think that we can take a look into making this more of, since it's coming from the sidewalk and from Croton Avenue, to make that more coherent, one piece, one entrance to this level. To have that more of and that may also help me with doing some windows or some glazing along this level. Because yes, I think the whole concept of having glazing, that 30% glazing at the ground level, is meant for when you're walking along the sidewalk and that level is adjacent to you. In the hillside, I think there's a little bit offset because that doesn't matter how much windows I'm going to put in. When you're walking along Croton Avenue, you're not going to have a full, especially with the landscaping, you're not going to have a full view of that glazing.
Yeah,
Well, I agree. I'm concerned about the relationship of the building to the street wall, to the sidewalk. What people, the ability to continue to walk up the sidewalk, but also the relationship between the building and what people see when they walk by. I did also want to ask, I thought that when we were.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm having a hard time hearing you guys.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of difficulties here.
I'm gonna say I concur with Seth's concerns and want to know more about the relationship of the building to the sidewalk and the street wall. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, but my other question actually was, am I not mistaken, when we were talking about the project across the street, I guess it's 33 Croton?
31.
31, were we talking about this site as one of the sites that would accommodate residents in terms of the parking needs for?
No, there was no parking requirement for 31.
All right, my mistake. All right. And this is rental, not ownership, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thanks.
I have a question. What's accessibility to these apartments for people that are disabled? There's a handicap parking space, but there's only stairs into the apartments.
That's one of the, I can say, idiosyncrasies of the code that we are required to, the New York State Code does not differentiate if you have access or not when you have a parking lot. You're required to provide a handicap accessible parking space. Yes, that is. It's not necessarily a wheelchair. They will say that, somebody that has difficulty walking, or even though they go up the stairs, that they should have the ability to park adjacent to the stairs. So there is no requirement this level or this type of building for elevator. And it is in this case, and then we will go with the, with the building inspector as we go along and with the construction documents. But our interpretation of the code is that when you do a site plan, you do need to provide accessible parking space, irregardless of if you have access or not to the building.
I think that's part and parcel of all these questions. But yeah. Is it on? It was, yeah. It was on. I'll talk loud.
That one in the middle.
Yeah, no, I echo that question. I'll talk really loud, but and it ties into everything else, right? It's a challenge with the site. You got to get people up these tall heights. You're putting in 5 units. I do defer to building staff as far as Joe's review regarding accessibility, but also think that it's thought into how people are going to be able to get in and out of this place.
Yeah, so I know that there's a unit, like the state building code does have a requirement at a certain point that some of the units need to be accessible. My understanding, we're not at that level here, but anything under 20 parking spaces requires 1 space to be accessible. And there are a lot of, there are a lot of individuals who are disabled, or necessarily physically disabled.
Yes,
But they would require a
the
wheelchair.
only way to get to any of those apartments is that steep, narrow staircase. Like, how are people even gonna get there furniture?
I mean, I would say, so the narrowness and the steepness, I'm sure it's said to meet the building code. Will have to meet the standards for right and run and everything else. If you're concerned about the width of the stairwell, I mean, that's obviously something that can change.
Yeah. I'm also very concerned about just how that staircase looks like it's just plopped in front of the building. And so both from the site plan perspective and how people come in and out, and also just from the EAR perspective. So I think there's some work that needs to be done there. I think in the sake of time, this is a pretty preliminary look at this, and I think it's helpful, and hopefully, this feedback. I guess if there's anybody who hasn't spoken on the board who'd like to add anything to the conversation for the moment, now would be a good time. Otherwise, when these folks are back, we can. But we do have, I think, just as from procedurally, where we are with this right now, we should be looking at this is a unlisted action. So from secret, we would need to, if we get three here, take a vote to declare intent to the agency. So I think that's one thing we can do tonight. And we agree if we have a motion to that one.
Michael Aronson, motion to declare the board lead agency.
Second. So then we'll do a roll call.
Okay. Seth Roy? Aye. Michael Aronson?
Aye.
Robert Bauer? Aye. Isabel Nguyen?
Aye.
Eric Talbot?
Aye.
Brenda Burbank?
Aye.
Carla Elia?
Aye.
Awesome. Okay, so now we hear feedback. If that's everything, I think we're in a good place with this. If we can have a motion to adjourn this item.
Seth, can I just ask a question? Just so I think I understand where you're going with this, but it sounds like it would be preferable to you to have a wider, more centrally located staircase than the one existing. Is that
Yes.
Maybe break it up.
so? I mean, to the extent if we probe it and it's not too difficult, that would be. I mean, I
don't think it's just as simple as saying it's a wider, more accessible staircase. I think looking at you've got a staircase from the sidewalk up to the building, you've got a staircase from the building, from the, I guess, from the grade plane up to the second floor. And so kind of designing those components together so that the building is relating to the sidewalk. And then I would, as part of that, try to mitigate the grade difference between where the building is sitting and where the sidewalk is sitting.
I think I do understand and looking back at the design and do the stairs, the centralized and well located for the use from here, but it can, this relationship, we are about probably a good 25 feet from when you're at this point, when you actually go to the next level. So we can explore this, the distance, this relationship, and the width of the stairs. I'm not sure about relocating the stairs since it's been there for a while, but we will take a look at that.
Yeah, I would just remind the board that one of the things that they are required to do unless they get a sort of a waiver and civic space, they have not provided that. They required, I think the requirement is around like 800 square feet of civic space. So they do need to do something of a plaza. They may have the ability to do a small plaza in an area that's being used as landscape now, which may also help to sort of break up what's happening and provide a little opportunity. So I think they've heard a lot of comments here today, and they certainly have some homework.
Can they make a payment in lieu of buying Pacific Space?
They can. I don't know if they're gonna want to do that. It may end up being more. There's no set price for that right now. So, we don't know what that is.
I'll just throw out there, because I actually thought about this and didn't mention it, where you've got your close garbage area on that corner there, it's almost where the grade is kind of at its easiest point, might be an opportunity to do something in that area as well. And maybe not have the garbage in that, though I know you're tight, because then you're putting the garbage up on Elizabeth, and I believe a single family house adjacent to this lot.
Okay.
Is that
It's sort of to the rear of the lot and
Okay.
up the hill.
Yeah, no, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I use that Elizabeth as a shortcut all the time. It's like picking up in a rocket.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So are you guys clear? Just so we.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
Can we have a motion then to adjourn the case?
Bobby Falcon make a motion to adjourn.
Isabel Wynn, I second that motion.
Any objections? No objections. The motion passes. It's adjourned. So, thank you guys. So we're going to move forward now to continue business, and this is planning board 02/2022 and VAR 02/2022. This is 72.
Before I apologize.
Yeah.
Who first and seconded that, the adjournment?
I'm first. Isabel second.
All right, so 72-74 Broadway. So maybe if we can start off, I know we've heard this item a few times now. Jaime, if you could give us an update to where this stands. The applicant did.
Yes, let me just take your off. For now. We will keep Josie here for now. I'll just come back on.
And Mr. Bellato is here with me, so.
Okay, great. Just give me a second. All right, so this application is come before you already a few times. The applicant has made some changes to the application to accommodate the ADA parking space that's required. They've made some changes so that they're not going to be doing any work in the future in terms of construction in the wetlands area. So they have just a couple of items to go over. There was a sign that they needed to provide to put on the garage, on the sort of the enclosed garage to make it clear to the tenants it's not to be used for the construction business. So they're aware of it. And then there's some signage requirements for the spaces themselves, which they presented on the plan. So the one thing that I didn't mention before, but we do need to discuss today, they're going to need a wetlands permit because they're going to be removing stuff from the wetlands right now. Okay? So there's currently asphalt all throughout the back. Some of it's in the wetland buffer area. So we need to know what their plan is to mitigate that area, sort of return the buffer essentially. So they're going to need to seed it. They're going to probably need to grade it. We don't have any plans. And I don't think this is anything that should hold up this application, but we would like to get them on the record so we can make it a condition of the approval.
It could that be a Keller Sessions reviews their mitigation plan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I don't think, Mr. Vlada has no objection to seeding the area or, we can coordinate something where, we can meet at the site with Mr. Vlada and do some mitigation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be the site plan, I guess, a condition of the wetlands permit would be that you would have a clear plan with how you would deal with that soil after you remove the asphalt. And then I would want that reviewed by Kelly Sessions.
All right, I'm getting notes back from many people that we are very hard to hear. So enunciate. Now,
I will agree with that. I'm having a hard time hearing you guys.
Ironically, the speaker here is really loud, so we hear everybody.
that's right.
Okay, so I'll try on my end. If you want to maybe actually, JB, if you could just give us the revision clouds on the site plan. So we just kind of run through those handful of changes so we can see what you've added since our last.
Yeah, we added the one parking space. So we still maintain the 10 parking spaces that's necessary for the building. We have shown this before, the parking for the trucks, and at the board's request, he's going to install a sign that says resident parking and truck parking only. The last time we reviewed the color of the garage was going to be beige. There was something submitted as to the color. We can, it matches the color of the garage, in the back of the house. And this here, we did show that we're going to remove the chain link fence like I should discuss. So there will be no issue. We have enough fence in the wetland buffer area.
Okay, and then, so just as far as those signs are concerned, it looked like those were like individual signs that go in front of each space. Is that?
Yes. Mhm.
Right? It looks like they're keyed in, right? There's like an A and a B.
You mean you're talking about these changes?
Oh, I'm talking about these signs, the parking signs.
Yes, yes. These are the,
Thank you.
A type will be, I'm sorry. A type be for resident parking only. And then the ones in the back, it will say for truck only.
Board members, any questions on this? Any Keller Sessions comments or items that we should be discussing, putting in as conditions that we discussed already?
Just the last memo we sent out. The permeable pavement detail needs to have some sort of under drain shown, as well as illustrated on the plan, where that's going to head out towards the existing wetlands. So it's our main thing, really, to contain that drainage.
We feel comfortable adding that for the, building department submittal and to be approved by Keller and Session.
That would be, I mean, that's separate from the condition we talked about before regarding wetlands permit. That would be a site plan condition. Okay. All right. So with that, I think we can open this up to the public hearing.
Also, just from the Keller memo, prior to the issuance of a building permit, they have to provide apply for a floodplain development permit.
Yes.
Do you understand that?
I'm sorry, was that we need to apply for a wetlands permit?
Floodplain development permit, separate from wetlands.
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to open this up to the public hearing at this point. Can you do so?
Michael Aronson, motion to open a public hearing.
Bobby Bacca, second.
Any objections? No objection, motion passes.
Sorry, would you believe all the batteries were replaced today?
Are you serious?
Today.
I think it just goes off.
They're all floated. Yeah, they were all changed today. So we've now changed it again.
Well, I'll just, yeah. so sorry. Okay, so is there anybody here from the public to speak to this application? There's nobody here in the room. If there's anybody on Zoom, you can use the hand raise function to let us know that you're there. And is there any, I guess we would see that showing up there, but I don't see.
No,
No.
yeah.
Okay.
Isabel, you're here.
All right, got it.
And everyone else that's here is, I think, here for an application, so.
That's fine. And there are no hands, so understood. There's nothing new that's been received by the.
No, I mean, it's probably a good time to go back to the original comments, which, from a neighbor who had complained about this being like an active construction, site. The original variance that allowed them to park these vehicles also stated, that if they did anything else, they brought construction materials, they did other things, they, would have that variance revoked. So just worth putting it on the record that the applicant understands that they're allowed to park those three, those three things, but if they do anything beyond that, and I have heard anecdotally that they have in the past done other things. So if they do that again in the future, that they are at risk of losing that variance, and therefore the site plan would still work, but they wouldn't be able to park those vehicles there anymore. They would start from the tickets.
Okay, and actually that's related to one other comment that we had, that I think we knocked on, you brought up in your introduction, which is the signage that we've requested on the front of the garage, which is accessory to the residential work. That garage is not, allowed. There's a variance for that to be used as commercial space. That is effectively the handyman's workshop or anything happening in that particular residential unit on that site.
Correct.
And while that sign is not permitted, I think we, if the board is okay, I think that is something that we can look at as including as a condition of the site plan. Okay, so with all of that being said,
So I have a quick question. Did we
Yeah.
clarify if we're painting that garage, maybe? Keeping the wood showing, or is it painted already? Can we clarify if we're painting the garage? Is it being painted? Has it been painted? Or are we gonna keep the exposed wood look?
What's the
It's not
color?
exposed wood. I mean, it's partially painted. It's just
Partially.
painted two colors.
Two colors.
So it's supposed to be painted one color, Navajo brown or something, Navajo beige.
Okay.
Can you hear JB? You're on mute.
Fine.
JB,
Okay, yes, no, I guess, I'm sorry, trying to unmute myself. It will be painted, yes, it's all gonna be one color,
and that one color is the Navajo beige.
yes.
Is that clear on the drawings that we have? That's
What? It is,
elevation.
it is.
Just wanted So we're still in a public hearing right now. I think with the answer that we've heard here, can we have a motion to close the public hearing at this point?
Isabel Williams, motion to close the public hearing. Michael Aronson, second.
Any objections? No objections. Motion passes. Public hearing is closed. All right, so we've kind of, I think we'll start with the site plan approval, which would normally be for the AR. So at this point,
You have a site plan for land and wetlands permit for the
Right.
planning board and then the VAR.
right, but those are separate. Can we
You can vote on it together.
we can vote on them together? Okay, that's great. So if we can start off with the site plan and the wetlands. We've outlined several conditions, both for the wetlands permit, the wetlands permit specifically looking clear mitigation plan, by colored sessions. And then the site plan, we looked at conditions regarding the permeable pavers from Keller Sessions, the floodplain development permit from Keller Sessions, the signage on the garage. I think that's the three. Am I missing anything? And so starting with that combined site plan
You could do them all together.
Yeah, we can do the site plan and the wetlands together.
And the
You
BAR.
could do
And
them
the
all
BAR?
together.
I don't,
Color.
the color was shown on the
Signage on the,
drawings.
yeah, signage maybe.
The signage is a site plan more than BAR. Okay, so, I mean, we can just have the clarification that it's all gonna be the one alpha stage. Yeah. Okay, so then, yeah, that's great. So we'll combine this vote, both BAR, wetlands, and site plan as a single approval item. We have a motion.
Yeah, Bobby Balfour making a motion to approve site plan, wetlands, and BAR with stated conditions.
Michael Aronson, second.
And let's do a roll call.
Robert Bauer.
Aye.
Seth Boyd. Aye. Mike Larrington.
Aye.
Carla Elia.
Aye.
Isabel Nguyen.
Aye.
Eric Talbot. Aye. Brenda Burback.
Aye.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much, and good luck, gentlemen. So we're going to move on at this point now to our next item on the agenda, which is 63 South Island. This is a PB Planning Board 03-2022. And I guess, Jaime, if you want to kind of give us an update with where we are with this application, what changes, and then we'll bring down.
Yeah, so let me just take a minute here.
Development's not really changed.
So the applicant has submitted a easement in response to staff comments, reviewed by land use council as is appropriate. So they are here for a couple items, site plan approval and conditional use. The main issue leading up to this was essentially that the parking in the front required access to the neighbor's property to back out. So when they're going to back out, they're going to need to cross that property. Otherwise, those won't work. They're not conforming. There's only about 8 feet or 10 feet, not enough space. So they now have an easement of 8 feet on both sides. So the neighbor has 8 feet on this side, and they have 8 feet on that side, providing about 20 feet of backup area, which is enough to get them in and out.
And Keller Sessions has had an opportunity to review the easement and those plans. And
They do still have some comments.
Yes.
And the incorporated conditions.
so let's
Construction detail, I think, is right.
Yeah, we need restoration details, the pervious pavers. Just noting that there's a gas service running through. The work zone should be noted and detailed, be protected. We commented, I think, too, on the, we need to execute a copy of the agreement.
That'll be a condition.
Got it, one. That's pretty much, some spot grades should be shown on the plan. Nothing crazy.
movement between the applicant and
Steve Giussini. Hi, Steve.
Yes, let me start my video. No, you are. Hi, good evening, Stephen Bassini.
hey. So
Hi.
you don't mind, maybe we just put up the site plan.
Sure.
And I know that the draft of the easement was also shared, but maybe I think the site plan is probably the way to talk about this.
Sure, I have everything available to share here. So this is the site plan that was submitted with the parking out in front and an outline of the accessory apartment or the, I'm sorry, the apartment, the basement apartment. But you were just talking about the easement, so I'll bring that up. I know that you have the written easement, the meets and bounds. I don't know that you have seen this or not. This was provided by the surveyor.
No,
This is the,
Yeah.
you have not?
No, that's okay.
Okay, well,
We'll need it, yeah.
Yeah.
well, it will be submitted obviously as a condition. I read the memo. So this is the map that was created actually prior to the meets and bounds, just so we can verify that everything was done accurately. But so you can see here, as Jaime, you mentioned, we have about 8.5 feet here on the neighbor's property. We have an existing 8 feet here. The easement, however, in this area here where we will be putting the parking, we have, you can see from that dashed line here to the actual curb area, we have even more, and then we'll, of course, we'll have the parking spaces. So once this easement isn't set in place and there's no fear of a fence along the property line, we'll have plenty of room to navigate out of those parking spaces. So if you'd like, I'm assuming Kellard's memo said that they wanted this on the site plan. Is that, do you want me to transfer this over onto the site? I'm sorry, yeah, to my site plan, or is this sufficient if the surveyor's information is submitted?
I think this is sufficient.
Okay. So I'll make sure we submit this with the final document. Yes.
No, that's fine. So yeah, I think the only other thing, like, while we have this up there, first of all, are there any questions from the board regarding the resolution with the using the easement?
I did have a question about the easement, and maybe I read it incorrectly because I read it quickly, but am I correct? And I'm not sure which party is charging whom, but is there a $50 a month fee for, I don't know what, no?
No, so
Okay.
there's a history, right?
Okay.
So there was a period of time where the owner of this property was going to charge the neighbor
Right.
in order to be able to use that property. And then, of course, that neighbor refused, and then it led to sort of a longer discussion. Ultimately, where they landed is the neighbor has worked out a deal where they're both gonna have an easement and nobody's paying anything.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, the one up on your screen right now, or that I'm sharing, is the one you should have, and it does not, it has excluded any of those payments. Yes, that was an old.
Old lease agreement, and that was also
Right.
supposed to. the
Right.
agenda. That's not the one that they're using.
These are deed easements that'll follow the
That's
product.
correct.
Yes, and I've reviewed it, and it will be recorded, and they will have to provide a copy of the recorded easement to the building.
That will be a condition of any site plan approval.
Yeah, well, it'll probably be a condition of the building permit specifically, but yes.
Yeah, so we would want to have that in this site plan. for sure.
No, you wouldn't ask them to do it before they actually pull a permit.
Okay, and I actually just want to talk just briefly, because we've spent a lot of time talking about the parking in the site plan, but there's conditional use here. If we can just like reiterate, that's for residential in the basement.
Correct.
So again, I know we talked about this in prior meetings, but are there any kind of questions or thoughts on that while we're reviewing this project? But is there anything that we should be looking out for, especially in particular conditional use?
We had looked at it in an earlier meeting.
So I'm not sure if you're asking me a question because I can't hear you too well.
The specifics of the conditional use permit, there is a whole criteria that you're supposed to follow, not that is related to the site plan. One of the things that you're required to do is to send it to the county, to make sure that the county's notified. This requires only notification of the county, so it's been sent to the county to come in. It's usually about the general idea behind conditional use is just making sure it's not going to negatively impact the neighborhood, which is something that you've already looked at, as well as sort of parking, appropriate parking is it have all the needs,
You mind if I bring something up just to in regards to that was submitted prior? This is just an aerial view of them. I think I caught the gist. Again, it's hard to hear, but just what you're saying is as far as the impact in the neighborhood. This was done a couple of years ago, and I don't know what's been updated since, if anything's been applied for a basement apartment, but you see where the M's are, those are multifamily, and where the B's are, those are basement apartments along the strip of South Highland. The applicant's property is highlighted in red. Specifically next door, there is a multifamily, and these other ones with B's you'll see have basement apartments. In addition to that, there are multifamilies. You see in this chart here, there are multifamilies with finished basements. There's two and three family dwellings with finished basements. Whether or not those are apartments, I don't know, or could be, but either way, there's finished basements in multifamily. There are also basement apartments in multifamily, and you can see how they're spread out along that lot. And I don't think it's out of the character of the neighborhood.
That's a helpful graphic. I know we looked at that way back, but it's good just as we're kind of reaching at the end of this review.
Yeah, if you would like, I can also pull up the text, the conditional use, the requirements.
I think that's helpful to do that.
All right.
Sorry, are you waiting for me? Because I couldn't hear you.
No. Can you hear me now?
I heard you, but you said you were going to pull something up. So that's why I wanted to make sure. Okay. Sorry. When there's a lull, I keep thinking I missed something.
Well, I want them to be able to see it. That's the
I
thing.
could raise to see comments first.
Oh.
Bing is the worst.
I have the PO district code open on my computer. If you want me to share that, or are you looking for something more
No,
specific?
I'm thinking something else, yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's two. There's a town.
I know, but the village always comes up first, it's not mine.
Okay.
No.
You're messing me up. Okay, all right. So this is that all pro structures, equipment, and materials are really tested prior to leak protection. Again, it meets building code, so it's reviewed, it's in the basement, there's no new structure per se.
Right.
The proposed use shall be of such location, size, and character that in general will be in harmony with the appropriate orderly development of the district, which is proposed to be situated, will not be detrimental to the orderly development of adjacent properties in accordance with the zoning classification.
Yeah, I think the applicant has demonstrated that.
Okay, that the proposed use will not overload any public water, drainage, or sewer system or any other municipal facility.
Had assurances on that.
Say it loud, really.
Yeah, we've had assurances on that. So
Okay.
I know that's been reviewed.
That the proposed use will not result in excess off-premises noise, dust, odor, solid waste, or glare.
It's consistent with the use in
Okay.
the district.
The use will be suitable for the property on which it is proposed, considering the property size, location, topography, and natural resources. And that in addition to the above, in any case, any use located in or directly adjacent to a residence district, which is the location and size of such use and nature of intensity of operations involved in or conducted in connection therewith, its site layout and its relation to access streets shall be such that both pedestrian and vehicular traffic to and from the use and the assembly of persons in connection therewith will not be hazardous or inconvenient to or incongruous with said residence district or conflict with the normal traffic of the neighborhood.
It's fair to say it's the residential use in a residential neighborhood.
The location and height of buildings, location, nature, and height of walls and fences, and the nature and extent of landscaping on the site shall be such that the use will not hinder or discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings.
Existing structure.
Yeah, well, yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
The residence is the conditional use, not the
Right.
site plan.
Right.
The subject property is adequately sized and suitably configured to provide screening needed to the adjacent residential district. It's actually behind. All right, so there's an existing fence. Nothing's changed over there. And then the other items are just sort of like conditions you have to follow that we noticed was noticed. We haven't noticed this.
We've been through these, and I think it is good just to be reminded to go through this. And think through it. So, having heard all of that, I think, it would be a good time to open the project up to the public hearing. So, if you have a motion to do that.
Mike Aronson, motion to open a public hearing.
Isabel Wynn, I second that motion.
Objection, no objections, motion passes. We're now in public hearing. There's nobody in the room here to speak. If there's anybody on Zoom to speak to this application, you can use your hand raise function. I don't see any hands on Zoom. And Jaime, we've not received any new information or any new letters or questions from the
No,
neighbors or from
We
the
have not.
community.
No, we have not.
Okay, so I think given where we are on this, I would suggest that maybe we can close the public hearing at this point on this application.
I'll be back to making a motion to close public hearing.
All right, Any objections? No objections, the motion passes. All right, so at this point, I think, Linda, we can combine the votes on this right now. We're looking at both the conditional use and the site plan. We have listed out a variety of conditions here. I guess the restoration of the papers, the details.
Yes, the items off the Keller session.
Yeah, so we can just, all of the Keller sections, we can kind of group all the Keller sessions conditions together, so those will be incorporated. And the, I guess the recorded easement was one of
Right,
Kelly's sections as
executed
well.
recorded easement to be submitted and the surveyed easement location.
And county notification of the conditional use would be another condition. It's already done.
It's not-
Okay, so then with those conditions in mind, we have a motion to pass the site plan and conditional use permits.
Michael Aronson, motion to approve the site plan and conditional use with conditions as outlined.
Isabel Wynn, I second that motion.
And we'll do a roll call.
Seth Roy. Aye. Michael Aronson.
Aye.
Robert Bowker. Aye. Isabel Nguyen.
Aye.
Eric Talbot.
Aye.
Brenda Burbeck.
Aye.
Carla Elia.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. All right, so very good. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Okay. We're ahead of the agenda. Okay, so we are up to,
There is a Jennifer Bromwell raising her hand, and I don't know who that is.
I don't know either. We're not currently in a public hearing. So we can find out briefly just where they are, but we can't really speak to any applications. We don't have any application open right now.
Hi, Jennifer. You're able to speak. It's not a public hearing, so we can't hear about any application. But did you have a question? You have to take yourself off mute.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Thank you for answering my question. We were at the meeting and now we're on Zoom. We're just confused about the process because we thought that we got this letter in the mail saying that we could have comments, that you would take our comments at the meeting tonight.
For which meeting? Does matter?
For 28 Croton Avenue. So we,
The notice is for letting you know that there's gonna be a public hearing. They didn't actually open the public hearing today. You can, however, submit written comments. And when the public hearing is held, which will possibly be at the next meeting, then you would be able to provide comments at that point.
okay, it says in the letter that we are allowed to provide comments.
You are, you can email them at any time.
Okay, well, it says it in two different ways. It says it can be emailed or you would hear our comments. So that was very confusing.
Yeah, so we didn't get to the point in the application where we were ready for public input because there's more input that we need as a board before we open it up to the public. So we're.
Okay. All right, thank you for taking the time to answer my question just now.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, so we're gonna move forward right now to planning board 13-2021 and BAR 8-2021, which is Water 30 Water Street. So, I mean, if you want to, I know there's a lot going on
Yes.
with this. So if you want to give us
I do,
an
yeah.
update.
I'll give you the 2-minute update. So essentially, there was a test done on the fire access, and it was determined through that test that the design that they had presented before with the pedestrian bridge crossing the site was not going to be sufficient for the fire department in order to use it to get the access that they wanted. And so there was a bit of a redesign based off of that, as well as some other comments from Con Edison that led to them removing the majority of the parking spaces that were under the building. There were, I think, about 25. They left 3 spaces under the building. Those are all handicap accessible spaces, or I think one of them is a van space for accessible use. and the rest of the spaces were moved over to the garage. The garage was reshaped a little bit. The elevator was moved to the front of the garage rather than inside the garage, and the back was essentially squared off. So they have brought that redesign in here. It's changed some of the variances somewhat. Is also up to this point gotten approval now from the fire department in terms of the new plan, which is the big open question. The Board of Trustees is going through their process for special permit. They've had the public hearing and closed the public hearing, so they will most likely be voting to approve the special permit at next week's meeting. After that, it'll be coming back to the zoning board in a few weeks. It's likely that the zoning board will be able, they'll certainly be in a position to make a decision, and it's likely they will make a decision at the next zoning board meeting, which means that they'll be able to come back in November. The goal tonight is to have them present on the changes, which are not super significant, and to try to hash out some final details on if there are any open questions that you have, as well as sort of a discussion about a couple of items that have not really been talked about, but we do need to get some conversation on the record so that you'll be in a position to openly vote at the next meeting.
Okay, let's bring them in and start with the changes.
Chris Hahn, we have Jim Wendling, we have Rich Williams.
Thank you, Jaime, for that thorough recap. So I won't waste time in going through that. I think as Jaime said, we've made a lot of great progress. And we've made a few updates based on the fire department meeting. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rich, who will walk you through the changes, and then we'll answer any questions you guys have. But we're excited to be before you again tonight. So Rich?
All right, thanks, Jim. I'll start with sharing my screen. Jaime did a great job at summarizing the changes to the plan since we were last before you. As Jaime mentioned, we've been before several of the boards within the village. We've been before the zoning board twice. We've been before the Board of Trustees. We also did a site visit with, well, a mock setup of the site in an open parking lot with the fire department to test maneuverability, and have made some tweaks as a result of that. But most notably, we want to talk about the fact that we've eliminated the basement within the building. That is the result of conversations between DEC and Con Ed as a result of the Brownfield program. But we see the elimination of the basement as a positive also from a floodplain standpoint. There was a lot of discussions with the village early on about how to prevent flooding in that lower level, property damage, as well as how to site mechanicals to make sure they weren't with, below the floodplain and within the basement level. And we were able to eliminate that basement and maintain the same aspects of the site that we previously presented to you. And that's what you're looking at on my screen here. So looking at the site plan, you can see it looks very similar to what you saw last time. The retail space is 3,500 square feet. The community space remains at 3,750. One thing that we've incorporated into this site plan is through the elimination of the basement, which, as you recall, had 24 parking spaces in it. We got some feedback from the village that maintaining handicap parking in the mixed-use building for accessibility was an important component. So we're able to still integrate 3 handicap spaces. One will be van and 2 will be accessible spaces, which will have access directly internal to the building. So we wanted to point that out. In addition, we did have to shift the shape and the location of the parking garage slightly. Overall, the location shifted to the west. As Jim mentioned, or as Jaime mentioned, the stairwell and the elevator, which was previously located in this corner, was shifted to the front of the buildings. And we'll show you a rendering of that in a few minutes. But what that allowed us to do was maximize the parking in this rectangular area, as well as straighten out the entrance to the garage. One of the things we were struggling with a little bit was the maneuverability. If you recall, this driveway came in and curved into the middle of the garage. It was an awkward maneuver, and we were worried that it did have the potential for some cars to swing a little wider out into this intersection that we liked. So as a result of this plan change, we have a better circulation into the garage and out of the garage as it relates to Water Street and Central Avenue and the adjacent intersection. As a result of this shift, we're not removing any additional trees than what was previously proposed. In the spirit of our last conversation, with this shift, we continue to look to maximize plantings. We were able to add 2 additional shrubs, increasing our replacement from 85 to 87 trees and our caliper replacement from 149.5 to 152 inches. It's a small shift, but we're happy it's a shift in the right direction as opposed to removing more trees. Again, we're not removing more trees, and we were able to add a couple of additional shrubs, and those shrubs are being added along this Central Avenue frontage to help green up the space in between the sidewalk and the parking garage. Just to take a look at the rendering, again, this.
Rich, can you just go back one page and just walk them through the bridge?
Oh, yes, Jim. What we did was we worked with the fire department on a series of maneuverabilities. We have reconfigured the bridge slightly. You'll notice the western edge has been skewed. We've discussed how the fire department would enter and exit the site. And based on this configuration, the fire department would be able to enter back straight down the alley and curve right into the open space we're creating with the bridge, setting the rear of the aerial apparatus right here, where we've been able to optimize their reach to the tallest portion of the building. We provided a very detailed fire maneuvering plan, which also shows as the truck pulls in or pulls out along the kill here, it can reach the building as it steps in height. If you recall, our building isn't just one straight height, but steps with Main Street to help keep the scale and the mass of the building down. So we were able to show that from these various points, you could reach the various points on the building. And again, we're able to coordinate this maneuver, which allows them to access the tallest portion of the building. This maneuver also alleviates the need for them to pull a K-turn or a Y-turn at the end of this intersection, which in my opinion, it offers a simpler maneuver into the site. Just to scroll down into the renderings, this is the current view from Water Street and Central of the existing DPW structure. And this is the updated rendering. You can see in the rendering the new stairwell elevator shaft here, which is now in the center of the building, and that new straightened entrance configuration we have for better access into the parking garage. As far as procedure, as we mentioned, we've been before the Zoning Board of Appeals twice now. We have presented this updated plan to them. They have deliberated on all the variances needed for the project, and by deliberated, I mean they've reviewed the 5 factors necessary for issuing variances. Positive conversations. There was no public hearing, no comments on any of the hearings that were had. And we believe that when we return to that board, they'll be issuing the variances, and we should be on their agenda for their next meeting. As Jaime mentioned, we also have been before the Board of Trustees. They recently closed the public hearing on the special permit. And hopefully at their next meeting, they will be approving the special permit and making their determination of consistency with the LWRP. So Jaime mentioned we're really here tonight to answer your questions, hopefully vet out any remaining issues, and we start to work towards a site plan approval towards the end of this year.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could put the site plan back up if it's okay with everybody here. Maybe start working it in that space.
Sure.
Just as a additional help, the notes that I provided do kind of go over the things we want to hit in terms of review.
Yeah.
So site plan's obviously on there, but you're gonna want to cover those items as well. Actually, site plan's the one thing that is. But every site plan is obviously an approval, but all the other items need to be sort of either talked about or sort of acknowledged that we've already kind of talked about. So they all kind of factor into each other.
They're all. Yeah, sorry, there's a lot of pages of stuff. Are we looking at?
So page 2, so literally the very second page of the packet.
Of your,
Of the
notes.
Of the notes, yeah. So the agenda notes, so yeah, go all the way to the front of the packet, the very second page. there's a list of items that we need to cover. So site plan is certainly one that you're gonna wanna get into the details here. We have spoken a lot about it, but these are other items as well. So the BAR review, you're gonna wanna cover that. Planned waterfront density bonus is pretty well defined in the letter that was written and sent to the board of trustees. So I don't know that you're gonna necessarily talk that again unless you feel it's necessary. There's some confirmation I need to get about the affordable housing density bonus. I think actually that's no longer required. I just want to confirm that with the applicant. Then there's subdivision approval with additional use, the wetlands permit, tree removal permit. And then you have to make a decision on whether there's sufficient parkland being provided as on the site as designed, or whether they should be required to pay the park, the sort of loop fee for parkland, which not the in loop, it's sort of a park recreation fee. It's $5,000 a unit, but this is a very different project. It's got a lot of available space.
And we take into consideration the extension of the kill as part of, I mean, that's.
Yes, so well, I mean, if you want to start there, so
Yeah.
you don't actually have to require anybody to pay the recreation fee. You do have to make a decision about whether or not sufficient recreational opportunities be provided on the site plan. So the site plan at this point, even though there's a subdivision that's remaining with the village, does include the entire site. And so that includes the half of the property that's going to remain, that includes the promenade, the Sing Sing Kill walkway extension. And for purposes of sort of outdoor use, they're also going to be providing indoor amenity space. I don't know how they plan on using it there. They have rooftop. So in this instance, they're actually providing quite a bit of space. The question is for you, is that sufficient? If it's not sufficient, then you can require a record.
It's also usually looked at differently on an affordable project. The economics of the project aren't the same in terms of the ability.
I mean, Linda, procedurally, until they receive or don't receive the variance from ZBA, we can't vote on anything, right?
You can't vote on anything
So we'll have
until they've
another
got the special permit and the variances. So it's really just any additional input, questions you have for them.
Yeah, and I think because we're here now and we're still waiting for ZBA, if there's anything that we want changed or any input that we can give to them between now and then, they can come back to that at the time when we are ready.
You think it makes sense to go through the bullets? See if you need any info, and some, I don't think we need
so.
anything.
Okay.
I have a question on the changes before we start going through this.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have a question about how, so the entrance to the parking garage is moved to right by the driveway. How do you get from the parking garage to the building?
There are several entrances.
Okay.
First of all, so there are 3 entrances. Rich, if you could point out the 3 separate entrances, there's actually a 4th one because the accessible space has their own access to all of the
Right, I'm
inside.
just
I think the
talking about-
question
I'm
was
just
about
talking
from the
the
garage.
from the garage.
The parking garage where the elevator is. So people that are handicapped are using that elevator. They have to go across the driveway. There doesn't seem like there's any sidewalk or anything for people.
So there absolutely is an accessible route that will take you from this doorway to the various doorways on the building, both at the lobby entrance. Again, there's an accessible route that'll lead from these spaces internal to the building. But yes, we will have an accessible route that will go around the front of the kill here and get you into the building.
Okay, so you,
But that's why the village board asked that they keep the open spaces in the building.
well, there's people that are gonna be, that's for the retail spaces. For the people that
No.
are in
No,
the
that can be
parking
for
lot.
rent.
But so everybody still has to, if they use that entrance, they have to cross over the entrance to the park.
Correct. So
We-
the pedestrian bridge has steps. So the only accessible route is to go from the elevator in front of the kill and into the building. So either that's to the lobby or the community space or the retail space. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's a lot of trade-offs in this site. I think you're seeing trade-offs that was a concern about removing the parking from the property. The other trade-off is has to pay for the remediation. They don't necessarily want to pay for it. And you have
Or they want to limit what they have to pay.
yeah, and then there's issues with locating that driveway on the other side where the elevator is, because now it's too close to the intersection, right? And so there's a lot of different trade-offs that they've had to sort of manage through this process, and that's kind of how we ended up.
But not all the traffic going into the garage. And
So there's still
other
an entrance on Central?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so Rich, can you go to a plan that shows
Yeah.
the different entrances?
There
Or
are,
just
well, there are 4 different
each level
entrances for
has
each
its
level.
own.
I just feel like there needs to be something there that controls pedestrian and car access.
Rich, the elevations would show that best, right? Oh, you want to show it here? Okay.
Yeah, so each level does have its own entrance. So again, Central Avenue raises in grade. So as you come up Central Avenue, you'll enter directly onto the second level here, directly onto the third level here, and then there'll be a ramp that comes up to the fourth level here. So the only parking that is using this entrance is the ground level parking. And again, we will have an ADA accessible sidewalk with drop curbs and ramps to get you across this intersection. This will be, again, remember the ground level is residential parking. So it is going to be used for the residents. The public parking will be up on this 4th floor here.
They won't even be using the elevator, so the accessible spaces are on them.
So as far as this driveway entrance, it's going to be for 49 vehicles. Again, this being a transit oriented development, we're anticipating, very light use of this driveway. It's restricted to just residences. It's only a part, it's like 49 spaces of the residential building.
You leave the parking garage from a different entrance, so you're not having to go across that driveway, right?
No,
No,
you
no,
will,
no,
you will have to
for
cross,
pedestrians.
yes,
Well,
no,
okay.
you will have to cross that driveway.
But that's a bigger question in terms of pedestrian access into and out of the garage. Is everybody effectively using that elevator stair tower to get in and out?
Or
to-
there's stairs at the other end.
Yeah, there is, I believe, a set of stairs at the other end. I don't know if that stairwell goes all the way up and down, or if it's just a first floor access.
Not sure. We have to check.
Yeah, let me take a quick look. See if I have the other plans here.
And would both of those be regularly accessible, or would one of them be a locked egress stair that's alarmed?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I did not hear that.
What I was asking is if that second rear stair is maybe an alarmed emergency egress stair.
I don't know that level of detail has been determined yet. Jim, I'm not sure how you want to manage that. I do believe.
Yeah, I would imagine you have 2 stairs out of that.
Yeah, I would, that back staircase, I believe, just accesses the first floor.
Yeah, has this been reviewed for egress, which is just
Remember, there's the driveway, and then there's the
Right,
stairwell out.
right,
So
right.
there is
Each
2
one has a
exits.
great exit.
They don't both exit towards the building, but there are 2 exits.
Yeah, that's fair.
On all of our jobs, we have a code consultant and an ADA consultant, make sure they review the plans and sign off on all obvious building code and ADA code issues. So I'm not certain what this is, but we'll find out.
Yeah, and every
One thing is to stripe a pedestrian walkway across the driveway.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, signage probably, so.
And signage.
And I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the change at the back of the site with the bridge being canted. And I don't have any real questions about that per se. And maybe it's just we haven't looked at this particular plan in a while, but I know the corner of the garage is really close to the kill that, I don't know which way, I guess they're calling it, is that maybe the eastern end there?
Mhm.
That orientation is the same as the orientation that we've been looking at. There's no change there.
it's actually slid further to the west. So I'll just switch over to the grading plan just to be able to emphasize where the hill was. So in our last iteration, this wall was just slightly farther out in this general location.
Rich, do you have that plan that showed the red lines of where it used to be versus where it is now? Can you pull that up?
Let me see if I can find that.
While you're looking at that up, I think one of the questions that maybe we'll look at there is the old basement garage entrance versus the new kind of entrance, and it looks as if there's a loading dock or something on the side there that's new.
So,
So the loading spaces they were there before. So there was always loading on that side. There's now, I think, 2 loading spots on the floor. And they have also the 2 ADA spaces in the van access.
so I don't have the red line that I can grab that handy behind me, but this was the previous retaining wall location, which ended here. So you can see the face of the building slid west this much, which is several feet. And as we did that, it pulled us away even more on this corner.
So while you shifted the kind of the volume west, you did not change the shape of it or elongate it. It's the same shape you shifted, and then with the stair tower.
It did change, yes.
It's same general shape, just the dimensions changed slightly and the stairwell location changed.
I'm gonna, if you could just hold it real quick, I'm gonna draw on this real fast. Just to make sure that everybody see this. So this corner here changed a little bit so that they could accommodate more spaces. Yeah, so do you, I mean, can you explain it? You fit more spaces per level on each garage, and that's where you got the extra spaces, that corner. Do you want to explain that a little bit? Right, well, yeah.
Right, I understand that part of it. That corner, I think it looks different to me.
It is different.
And that's why I'm.
It kind of went in and went up and went in again and then went up. And now it's a little more spread out.
Yeah, I don't know that it's something that we need to hash out right now. It'd be helpful just to have that diagram and change.
I think it affected some of the variances, some of the movement on that.
Mhm.
I think, Rich, can you pull up the old drawing?
That's exactly what I'm pulling up. Yep, I'm with you.
It's not a big difference,
Okay.
but it is different.
So this is the previous shape. Again, as Jaime just pointed out, the shape did change in here. From a sawtooth, it got a slightly narrower. We squared it off in order to accommodate the parking. Just the flip back and forth. See now, this piece got squared off. It was slid to the west as a result of squaring that off.
What was determined? Was it always a wall there at the end of the plaza?
Yeah, we did always have a wall here because again, we're into that hill a little bit.
Right, I think that's exactly what I was responding to is that it's, you by eliminating those steps, you're kind of like right there on the corner. That becomes a, if you go back to the new plan now. Yeah, that space, that plaza space becomes very, very different, and the edge of the garage is much closer to the kill.
So it's not plaza space.
Right, and that's exactly where I was going to go.
So can we just talk about what that space will look like and what it will be?
Yeah, that is something that was open. They had talked about using grass pavers there. It's just a space that's dedicated for fire access. It's not a plaza. But they've not shown us what they're going to. Yeah, the promenade is on the other side.
So when we talk about that staircase coming down from the first floor on that end, where does that lead to?
That then enters into this area which we've identified as grass pavers. Again, the final style and selection of the paver itself hasn't been made. But this side is more for utility and not for pedestrian and plaza space, right? The fire department did not want trees planted along the side that would help or that would inhibit their access to this side of the building. This is mainly meant to be a fire department emergency access. So it's going to feel more straight and linear. You know, the idea is to really direct pedestrians to the different pavement pattern, which will bring you into that plaza. You know, we'll start with the first tree planter here. You're going to have rows of benches and planters on this side. It'll be more green, more inviting. This is where you have the retail space, you know, to activate people and make them want to come. This is the side of the kill with the extension, you know, so there's a destination point. We have this back entrance, I believe, for egress. That's a building code issue, so I'll have to verify that with the architect, but I believe that's why we have the second entrance there. Other than that, every other entrance either leads you to the stairwell or there's doors along Central for you to use the public sidewalk. So again, we're really trying to bring people around and into this linear park space.
And
This is,
sorry, also on the bridge, is that part of the linear park space?
I think it's gonna be, I mean, people just tend to want to walk on a bridge and look down at the kill. But it is gonna be just, you know, a bridge with walls, you know, that match the training walls of the kill.
And there will be no barriers either on the other side of the bridge or at Water Street on that, you know, on the garage side lawn or whatever you want to call it. I'm just trying to
Yeah,
picture
there'd be
that.
no barriers.
No,
It'll
no,
be-
barriers. No, but as Rich was saying, by hardscaping and landscaping the other side, we're gonna drive the pedestrian experience to the residential building. That's where the community space is, the main lobby, the retail space, so forth and so on.
That's driven by fire department primarily, or is there any other programmatic reason why?
Yeah, this space in here needs to be clear for fire department access. You know, furnishings, plantings,
Benches, yep.
yeah, any type of that stuff needs to be clear just for width to meet fire code.
There are also obligations under the impervious coverage. They're above the impervious coverage already. Slight variance for that. And so, you know, if they turn it into full hard, potentially use some sort of other pervious pavement system. They haven't decided that. I think this is a good opportunity for you to weigh in on what you'd like to see there while they're making that decision.
But it can't be grass, I'm assuming, because you need to have it open for the.
They plan on using grass pavers. I mean, so my experience with the grass pavers, at least in Yonkers, has shown that they don't look very good. If you get the really kind of cheap plastic ones, they work and they're great. You can drive on them, but if they don't get sun, they're not well drained.
What are grass? It's like a Unilock system that lets grass go through it.
Essentially, they're like plastic hexagons locked together. You fill them with gravel, and then you put grass seeds and stuff on top. And grass grows, but it doesn't grow well. It doesn't look great. You know, that's really it. I mean, it's not. There are other types of forest paver systems that they might be able to consider. I don't know. I would ask them to sort of weigh in on what they are thinking about. This has been presented, and it was not the first time they've heard this. So they may have thought of something that just hasn't been presented yet.
Rich, is this something you guys have answers to at this point?
Not this evening. We haven't done a final paver selection. We're going through a couple of different options. You know, as Jaime mentioned, balancing both the pervious nature, also balancing the fact that there is a fire load rating that we have to meet for the fire truck to make sure that the road base is structurally stable enough. We're going through those options now.
I guess as well, we're just on the issue of site plan, just some of the basic things that we, you know, if any of these changes can impact the lighting and how that plaza and non-plaza are going to be, you know, lit and impacted. We looked at it. I think we looked at the photometric a while back. Any changes to that would be helpful to see as part of this final site plan. That's something you need to comment on now, but something we would want.
Would you like to see the new images, the new renderings? They haven't changed much, but yeah.
We saw one new rendering. Are there?
There's a full new set of
some of those
renderings.
other sets?
They're virtually unchanged.
Yep.
So they haven't.
Yeah. We can put those up.
So, Jaime, I have those loaded, but Mr. Chairman, just to stay on these pavers for 1 second. Helpful to us would be, you know, we did count this entire area as impervious in all our coverage numbers. You know, I've heard Jaime on the grass rings and I agree with him. If the board would like to see just a straighter hardscape here, that's useful information for us to know as we're going through the paver selection process.
I don't think I would like to see a straight, I think that could be really like imposing looking if that was all paved.
Okay.
Nice for green.
So just to switch to the balance of the renderings. This is the elevation that was previously presented for the mixed use building. You can see that this is essentially the same as what was previously presented. Some of the building heights, just to make note of it, were lowered. So the overall height of the building did come down slightly. Again, this is the other elevation looking north. Again, other than the height, the same as what was previously presented. You can see the green roof spaces that were previously mentioned. These elevations of the mixed use building again stay the same. You can still see we have the pedestrian bridge accessing Main Street in the elevation. Again, additional elevations. This is the parking garage. The only change to note is we do have that stairwell and elevator shaft on the front of the building here and here. Again, you can see it from the view looking west. This was the rendering we showed you a few minutes ago. Again, this was the previous view looking into the site. This rendering remained unchanged. That stairwell and elevator shaft are off the view in this rendering.
But that long wall of the garage does, I don't know if you can hear me, the long wall of the garage does read as being different in that image, right? That's now just one long bar, whereas before it was.
Yeah, it doesn't have the jogs, right?
Doesn't have the steps in, correct. Again, the view looking farther into the site with the extension and the landing of the extension, facing Cinco Greenway. The before and after looking into the site, which is the same rendering as before. And then here again, this is the same rendering looking down Central. You can just start to see the elevator shaft and stairwell here. One of the things this rendering does not capture is the planting plan in between the sidewalk and the face of the building. So there's going to be a much softer, greener landscape along the front of this building.
You know, might be a good opportunity also, some of VAR, to just get into some of the materials. They did present some of that material. I know we don't have Maxwell, unfortunately, tonight, and but Rich, I don't know, are you able to pull up some of the material that you did have? That was in Maxwell's stuff, the sort of the wood grain, aluminum paneling, and
I'm going to do my best, but
And
most,
there's been no change to what was previously presented regarding materials.
right, most of the materials remain the same. I think the main thing just to point out is on that stairwell and elevator shaft. I believe that is metal cladding.
I thought I saw one. Like,
Yeah, we definitely saw that.
So I can find it as.
I think it was pretty, yeah.
There you go. You know, again, the same louver pattern with the metal wood, the aluminized wood grain texture panels, the metal cladding, the gray aluminized panels. There'll still be the stone veneer at the base of the garage that was previously presented.
Can you just remind us what the material is of those louvers on the garage?
They're wood grain textured aluminum panel.
no.
Oh, the aluminum. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Over here, these are bronze colored painted aluminum fins.
That's it, like an anodized finish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, these haven't changed. I thought these were I thought it was an attractive building when it was first presented. I'm curious.
No,
I'm a fan of the materials and the finishes being used in this project. Reminds me very much of like Cody's Farmer and the Fish in Tarrytown, the waterfront there. It's pretty much spot on to that, which is a good look. It's not a bad look at all. It's a huge upgrade. From what's- It's like-
All upgrade. All upgrade.
Put those before photos back up there. Yeah, I think the only thing that I always worry about is just what any garage is gonna look like. I think it's hard to make a garage look
Try to
beautiful.
mask it as much as we can.
I think the fins, I mean, they look great in the rendering. I mean, if there are any similar projects that are built where this is used, I think that would be helpful for us to see.
Great.
If I can, I'm gonna take over the screen real quick. I think there is something that I can show you. It's not identical to the style here. And I'll agree with you that
I mean, that's Cody's Farmer and the Fish.
Purdy's Farm,
It's Farmer and the Fish in Hudson. Like, right in Tarrytown.
they have a garage.
They have a garage that's pretty much built in. You wouldn't even notice from the building. It's under.
Can I see that?
Purdy's Farm,
Or it's Hudson Farmer and Fish.
Hudson Farmer.
Yeah.
Hudson.
Hudson Farmer and Fish.
Now you have us all Googling that.
All right, let's look this up. All right.
Brody is in North Salem. That is the
Let's see.
owner. But this is in the development of
Let me
Tarrytown.
share my screen here so that everybody can see what we're talking about.
So it's 11 River Street. So it's 11 River Street address.
Yeah, it's a-
And you don't see the parking at all from the street. It's really blended into the building. They did a really good job there. Obviously a different space, you know, they're working with different.
Hudson Farmer.
So it's 11 River Street.
Yeah.
Street view.
Yeah, if Max were here and I've heard him give this presentation a couple of times, you know, he'd tell you that they were trying to pay attention and respect. You know, on one side of the site, you have a very natural setting, you know, with the forested area as you move to the eastern portion of the property. But as you shift to the western portion, you tend to hit that more industrial feeling. And they were trying to blend and combine both of those feels into the building.
Oh, you can't even see.
You can't even see it.
Yeah, I mean,
Different site.
I know that, like in Yonkers, we do have a site that doesn't have it like this. It's an Avalon site, and they've screened it. It's right on the waterfront, so you have this huge promenade, and you're kind of looking at the water, and on the other side, and there you can see cars in there, but they're screened so well that they don't
It's not
attract at all.
Yeah, I think that, you know, what's different here is we have the parking structure is standalone, so it's a standalone parking garage. And so it's almost less the cars that I'm worried about seeing, it's just this kind of bulking concrete structure.
Maybe take elements from the facade of the residential structure and apply that to the parking structure.
And I think in those fins, that's what they're trying to do is tie the two buildings together. One of the things that Maxwell described to the Board of Trustees is the fins or the louvers are set at a very specific angle so that for many of the views, the parking garage appears a little more solid and wood grain and natural and feeling. But then as you walk around the garage, depending on the angle, it can open up a little bit and feel more open and airy.
I mean, to Bobby's point, I mean, some sort of a cladding on some of the vertical elements might also help. And I know that that's yeah, fair enough.
Right, tough having this conversation right now.
But you can give them this feedback. We, you know, just so that,
It
that
can be done.
yeah, I mean, it would be helpful, to see, you know, photographs of that system being built. And the idea of thinking about maybe applying some of that concrete to the side.
You don't want the parking garage to detract from the residential structure.
Right,
If it's a big concrete mass, it will do that, you know?
and it's a bigger concrete mass now than it was before, because at least it was broken up. Now it's one long screen.
We'll prepare precedent images and show you what the intent is and show you previous projects that this similar system has been used on.
I do. And I would encourage you to look to see if there's an opportunity to cover a clad, especially on I think probably more on the kill side of the building, you know, cladding some of that structure. So
Okay.
And then on the other side, on the Central Avenue side, the building's smaller anyway, it's the hill. Okay, so that's, I think, some EAR feedback. I think we I'm just gonna go back into Jaime's list now, just to make sure we need to cover here. The waterfront density bonus, I think we did cover that with our letter, discussions last meeting. Subdivision approval, we haven't really discussed here, but I think it's pretty straightforward. I know that the BOT has spent a lot of time kind of working that out, and so I think it's, again, it's right. The conditional use is, again, kind of in the conversation we had earlier,
It's the same conditions.
yeah, it's literally the same conditions, and it's residential is the conditional use.
Yeah, there are specifics that pertain to the habitable space. Those have been dealt by the zoning board. They're seeking variances, but those are the only specific conditions. Yeah.
Okay. And then, the wetland permit is, again, we've dealt with that, I think, in great detail with our secret conversations. Tree removal, same thing, and it sounds like from today's presentation that the tree replacement has actually, increased from the last time we talked, which is nice to hear. And then the final point, which we kind of started talking about at the beginning of this conversation, regarding parkland. I mean, from my perspective, I'm looking at this project. This is kind of this project is generating public space. Yeah, it's creating, it's resulting in a new path that connects this the kill all the way back up to the rec center, and kind of continues this line.
Currently the public has no access to that space.
Yeah, exactly. And that's without thinking about the kind of the brownfield cleanup, bringing people in, and also just the work that they're doing on the kill itself to prevent prevent flooding and prevent runoff, and then again bringing people in there. To me, that's the greatest attribute of this project is just its ability to engage with the public. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
I just have a quick question, and I'm not sure if the letter from the county planning office was written before or after you changed the parking. After. Okay, so I was just curious about their comment about the programming of the space, given that this is a transit-oriented design project, and their suggestion that perhaps if all of the parking spaces weren't being used, that there could be some flexibility in the programming of the parking space. And I don't know if you've had any discussions with the village of that or what your thinking was, but I was just sort of curious about that comment in their letter.
We haven't had any further discussions with the village about it, but Linda, I'm certain we could potentially paper that in the parking agreement, right? And leave ourselves flexibility for both us as the developer and the village.
Sure. As it's planned right now, the fourth level is all public parking for use by the village for the public. I'm sure we can make some provision that if it turns out that they don't need all the parking, that there could be additional parking made available for the public. It's something we can talk about. That's why I don't have that agreement done yet.
Yeah, so the way that it was set up before, the original fourth level was going to be entirely public parking. Now, because of the reallocation of spaces, some of those parking spaces technically are supposed to be dedicated to the building as well. The zoning code says that they have to provide those spaces and make them available for the public. I don't know anything about this plans, the programming of it, but I'm not sure about whether it's zoning compliant right now. Potentially rent those spaces to the general public, and who would get the funding for that? Like if they're going to pay a fee, would that fee go to the developer? There hasn't been a lot of thought into that particular comment, or whether it's even doable right now.
And I know this number was probably put out earlier on, but I missed it. What the before and after the change total parking count?
Same.
Yeah, it's the same. The only difference being that they only needed that fourth floor is dedicated to the general public, because it equaled exactly the 3 floors plus the inside was needed, and now
You
it doesn't.
Right, you have more spots on the fourth floor than you had before, so
Right.
you would have the
Some of
same
them have
number
room.
of public spots, but then you'd have to allocate some to residential.
Yeah.
It's a parking neutral change, it's the orientation.
Yeah. But I mean, the county is hitting on a point that's really important to understand about the problem with our transit oriented code is that we require way more parking than most transit oriented projects need, even outside of just being affordable. So usually be less even. Rob studies show that they have way more, their own studies show that they have more than enough parking. But our zoning code doesn't permit them to provide less.
But I think, so, you know, I think we've had a good conversation here. You know, while we're on this topic, we should just open up the public hearing. We can have a motion to do that.
Eric Talbot, make a motion to-
I'll be back for a second motion.
Any objections? Objections? Passes. Hearing. Is there anybody here from the public to speak to this application? Hand raised on Zoom. There's nobody in the room.
No, anybody want to speak on the?
Just watching. Okay, so, all right, very good. Then since there's nobody here from the public, we have a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Michael Aronson, motion to adjourn the public hearing. Second that motion.
And the objections, motion passed, the public hearing is adjourned. And I guess unless the applicant has any other questions or needs any, any points of clarification for what we discussed tonight, you guys kind of know where you're going from here.
Yeah, we have our marching orders. Yes, thank you.
All right, then we have a vote.
Isabel Williams, motion to adjourn the case.
I'll be back for a second motion.
Any objections? No objections, the motion carries, and we are adjourned for this. So thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have one other item on the agenda. Yeah, so this is a kind of introduction to the project that just gonna have a preliminary conversation about. Application number.
Yeah, there's been no formal application.
All right,
No
so,
public.
all right, so how many do you want to set the table?
Yes,
Very
so-
quickly, and then we'll.
Super quickly,
Yeah.
Peter wants to put a train caboose on the corner of State and Main Street.
That's the very quick.
There we go.
The property belongs to the village has agreed to sell it. They've agreed on a price. So Peter needs to get approvals in order to move it from where it is now to bring it here. And so there are a few easy questions. We have some setback questions. We don't actually know the full setbacks. We don't have a survey, fortunately. But we do know, generally speaking, what the setbacks are likely to be. It's got to go get a variance. It does not need seeker because it's not large enough. So it won't require anything there. So it needs parking. It needs a site plan. He's proposing to put in a small retail kiosk inside of it, which is a condition, which is a permitted use right now. It may extend part of the restaurant, bar, which would be a conditional use, but I think he's proposing at this point as a retail space first, and then he'll need a parking variance. I think he needs either 1 or 2 parking spaces. That's very small. And then he'll just need the variances for the setbacks, and then he would, have to do some engineering to make sure that he can place this thing there. That's all conditioned. So they're here to talk about it. They're going to be going to the variance. They're going to go to the zoning board.
Yeah, so, and I'm assuming Peter if you can hear me as you're bringing them in, but when you guys come in, if you can maybe start just to talk programmatically, like what's kind of your intent, how are you planning to use this, and then maybe we can just talk a little bit about site plan and kind of how this is going to relate to sidewalk, and just kind of get a better sense in that respect, how you plan this to work. So you guys are here. I don't know if you heard that. If you guys can maybe start off just giving us a brief overview of the program and how is this being used? What's going on up on here?
Okay, the genesis of all this is that I'm trying to bring a record store to Austining. There's a couple that has a boutique business of selling limited record pressings. They're in Croton right now. They've been looking around. They like Austining, but they weren't able to find anything compelling. And we're about to go to Peekskill. I don't know why I don't.
You're showing us the wrong screen.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm looking at here. JB?
Yeah,
Could you give us back the site plan? You had it. Then we went to your
I
outlook.
went to the wrong screen.
Wrong screen.
Right.
Is that it?
Yes,
Yes.
that's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So they're presently looking at taking a space on Main Street where they would have their main offices. And then this would be kind of an interesting sales kiosk on Main Street. Which, you know, ultimately, when the Gastropub gets built, it's sort of I think a symbiotic relationship. Having the two things there together would be kind of nice.
And maybe JB, if you could walk us through the site plan a little bit too, because I think I'm
Needless to say, it won't be a very profitable venture for me.
Okay, right now, I mean, as you can see, this is a picture of the actual unit that Peter purchased. This is a picture of the retaining wall along the corner. This is a picture looking towards the river. So the idea is, it's a picture from this side, this one here, and a picture, this one is taken from across the street. The idea we have now, and we have found, Peter has found an old survey of the property. So we knew that at one point, this was all one unit, and there was a zero lot division between the two properties. Now, what we are trying to do is have a walk that will bring us to this level of the caboose or kiosk. We are, for code reasons, we have identified this, that the best way to describe this, it will be to be a kiosk or a small retail space, since it's part of this overall corner or mall. So this retaining wall, this existing retaining wall will stay. We're going to do some landscaping in the southernmost point of the area. We have identified the trees that are coming down, and we did have a conversation with Jaime about doing some mitigation about that. Again, this is some graphics of what the train will look like, the kiosk, and the idea again is like to have this as a retail. You'll be able to walk in from State Street and be able to access this, and it will be for retail, and this will be the whole. At this point, we have this. She's coming in from the one side, and we are working on trying to finish the landscaping of the area around the caboose or the kiosk. And I think that what brings us here is that in this informal, we appreciate the time that the board has taken us to look at this, and that we would like to go for the variances that are required once we determine exactly what they are, and confirm those with Jaime and Joe. But at this point, I think in order to do that, we will need to have the planning board defer lead agency to the zoning board. Do I understand that correctly, Jaime?
I think that at this point, this is going to be a type 2 action, so there is no secret, no lead agency.
Oh, okay.
It's under 4,000 square feet, so commercial structure under 4,000 square feet is a type 2.
Yes, the kiosk, the interior space is a whopping 281 square feet.
JP, are there gonna be any municipal services subject to the caboose, like water and sewer?
That project's already got
Electricity.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Are there gonna be municipal services besides electric, like water and sewer hooked up to the caboose?
No, we don't anticipate having water or sewer right now, it's just electrical.
So they're gonna use the bathroom at 4 State Street?
They're gonna use the bathroom at 4 State Street, correct?
Yeah,
There is actually a toilet in the caboose and a sink. Which we could potentially connect, but it's a lot of work to connect it up, and it's not a very glamorous toilet.
and it will take substantial space of the inside space. And that was when we researched the code, and we need to confirm that with the building inspector, but and we also have reached out to New York State about the definition of a kiosk, because that will allow us to utilize other building, or I think it's within 500 feet for bathroom or a necessity that an employee will have.
Does it make sense to merge the tax lots?
We'll look at that.
Because
I
if the
mean,
bathroom's
everything
on
is
one-
very preliminary right
Yeah.
now.
JB, I have a. JB.
Yep.
I have a quick question about just the weight of the caboose. From the plans, it says it's 37,000 pounds. I'm just trying to understand, in order to get that onto the site, how are you proposing to do that? Because I would imagine that however you're going to, where it's ultimately going to land, the driveway that's going to get it there is going to have to be able to withstand that weight. Unless you're planning on craning it, I'm not really clear. I've never seen a caboose.
I believe that's gonna have to be almost, for an analogy, we're gonna treat it something like a modular box. So we understand there's gonna be some sort of crane set up and something where we do install it or we remove it from the carrier. And then,
There's a specific group that does this that I already have a proposal from. So they would, the caboose is right now up in Remsen, New York. The way it gets moved is, first of all, there's underneath going to be a short piece of track. That track's going to have footings under it, so it's really more ornamental than functional, but it'll just look it'll make the caboose look more exciting that way. So the track's going to come, track goes into place. The wheels, the body of the caboose will be separated from the wheels, and that will come on 2 different trucks. So first the wheels get set down, then they crane the body back on top, and they connect the whole thing.
Okay, thank you. And I guess.
Unfortunately, that process costs significantly more than the caboose costs.
The other question I have is, this is just more kind of like a question I have.
You gotta speak up loud because. Yeah, just try to yell at the screen.
My other question is, I guess basically, in terms of putting putting the caboose on this site is how does it relate to Village of Austin? I mean, I understand you're going to purchase this property, and this is something that you would like to see done, and you have this caboose that's available to you, but I guess I'm just trying to see like.
Well, it's a 1929 Pennsylvania Railroad caboose. Obviously, the vintage of it is similar to a lot of what we have around Ossining, age-wise. Certainly, a great deal of Ossining's history is tied to the existence of the rail next to us. In actual fact, historically there was the Pennsylvania Railroad and the New York Central Railroad. And ultimately, Pennsylvania Railroad and New York Central Railroad were merged in 1968. That lasted a few years and resulted in the largest bankruptcy in United States history. However, during that period of time, it's entirely possible that this particular caboose was running right by us because Penn Central was running the trains to Ossining. So it's definitely not historically irrelevant. And then the only question becomes, well, why not put it down by the rail? We don't have a piece of land there. And one thing that I've been after is to try to tie the waterfront to the village center. And to create something interesting where when you're down there looking up, you're saying, hey, what's going on up on that hill?
It's also, it's funny, I asked this question, I showed this to my family when I was looking at it. My wife was like, yeah, it's the way down to the train station. It is kind of like a wayfinder in a way.
In Atlanta, we got the big chicken. It's way better than that. So.
I like it. It's eclectic. It's different.
Yes.
Yeah, it's unique. I like it.
Is this a BAR?
Yeah. It's a, yeah, so it's gonna require VAR, it's gonna require planning board, it's gonna require the board of trustees to sell the property to them, which they've already weighed in on. The sale has not happened yet. And it's required as a ZBA. Not that, it does not require HPC, although if you had interest in getting it to the HPC, we might just ask, we need more presentation of issues. I don't know if that makes sense or not. It's not in the HPC district. Right. If you wanted to get their opinion, I don't know.
Is there a restorative scope that you're planning to do on the train? You know, whether it be painting.
It's not in terrible shape. There's some rust. I mean, mostly what you see there is just peeling paint. I think somebody did a lousy paint job on it at one point where they didn't prep it properly.
Are you gonna get rid of Pennsylvania and put Ossining on there?
No, I mean, it's an historic thing. So no, I wouldn't. I mean, there's never been a train that said Ossining on the side.
You could be the first.
I did think about possibly putting like an Ossining, I've been looking for, although if I found an historic Ossining train station sign, I'd love to put it there, but I haven't been able to find anything yet. Or even if I could find a photo of one, maybe have one made.
Parkers. You know, when you pull in Ryder Park, the building to the right, that's the Ossining train station. They moved it.
No.
And if you go down the waterfront, Lewis Angle Park.
JB, you are, we can hear you. Somebody speaking?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, this, yeah, no. I mean, going back to the comment about, this being it can also be treated as a sculpture piece, as a, artistic element that is going to be sitting on this corner. Issues that's going to be used as a retail kiosk, but it makes, when you put in this element in this corner that's the way I look at it. Is going to be sitting on railroad. That's going to be an artistic expression, something that, is going to connect the downtown, like Peter says, that Main Street to the, the lower level by the Hudson's.
Yeah, it's sculptural, right? It's
a sculpture, artistic.
So, as you're developing it, I think it would be helpful. Like actually, that shot you had, the aerial shot of that corner is really helpful. Actually, the one above it even.
Yeah, this one here.
Yeah, it is. It's very much like it's the both gateway down and gateway back up, and connecting that site plan to that crosswalk there on that corner. I know you're showing kind of the driveway that's closer down to State Street, but that's like a super sharp corner. It's almost a little separated. And then you got the the post office parking lot behind you. So to really figure out a way, in your site design, to really kind of tie that corner together. I think it's kind of a fun opportunity. It's certainly unusual.
Okay. Certainly unique.
Yes, indeed.
By the way, I already bought this damn thing, so please let me do this.
Hmm.
How did you find it?
There's actually a website where they sell these things, which I've been staring at for years. Believe it or not, it's hard to find a caboose. They're very sought after. And usually when they pop up, they're points west or south. So this all sort of came together at the same moment that there happened to be one in New York, because the transportation is the issue. If you're going to get one of these and it's out in Colorado and you're going to try and move it to New York, it's prohibitive.
We just found the website caboosesforsale.com.
Oh, that's actually not the website. It's Ozark Mountain something.
There is one. There is one, caboosesforsale.com.
I think I saw that, but I don't, if I recall correctly, they didn't actually have anything.
They're sold out of cabooses.
They were really hard to find.
All right, well, this is all fun, but I guess Peter and JB, you guys, I think, have you gotten out of this what you feel like you need? You know where our questions are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Referrals to ZBA or can be done through staff at this point, because we're not looking at a secret.
Yeah, there is only one item that I didn't mention in the staff report. I didn't really notice it until just now. Can you pull up the aerial of the site real quick? You had it up a minute ago.
This one?
Yeah, that one. That's right. That's what you. So, yeah, if you could scroll down so you can see the crosswalks. Yeah, so that's right. You hit the nail on the head. So there is no pedestrian crossing here. And so part of what this is doing and the activation of this, the restaurant, this whole road is now becoming sort of more active space. And the goal is to drive people from down the block to come up here as much as there's anything else. I don't know if we want to think about, striping now being a little bit more of an issue. Because there is striping for people to come south, but people coming north, it's not going to be
crosswalks on the other side.
Is that a crosswalk right now?
I think so, but it's not a. Yeah, so we should give some thought as to how we want to handle this at this point, because that crosswalk makes less sense than the one closer to where the railroad would go, because there's really no reason to cross over there at this point. It's a longer walk, we just may want to.
I don't know that both of them don't belong there, right?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of helps with. Yeah, no, I think both of them belong there. I mean, honestly, even just thinking about the restaurant or yeah, I agree. All right. Okay. That's good. Thanks, guys. This was a fun way to end the meeting. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. So with that, we have a motion to close tonight's meeting.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Michael Aronson, motion to close the meeting.
Isabel Williams, I second that motion.
Any objections? No objections. Motion passes. And it is 9:15. All right.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Right.